If you were to find yourself transported to a world teeming with monsters, tasked to build your own sanctuary with chosen companions, whom would you pick? Just 5 months ago, I was an ordinary sales manager. On the day I landed a major deal, and while celebrating with a modest drink, an inexplicable heaviness overcame my chest, transporting me to a post-apocalyptic wasteland ravaged by monsters. At first, I thought it was an elaborate hoax, desperately trying to escape this nightmarish land, only to realize it extended far beyond my wildest imagination. Astonishingly, my entire physique had transformed. To add to the surreal experience, a system interface inexplicably materialized before my eyes, thus marking my transition into a scavenger of this new realm. A primal urge to report my predicament surged within me, but alas, I lacked even the most basic means of communication. After a day mired in confusion and hunger, I was forced to embrace the harsh reality and seek sustenance. Unexpectedly, I stumbled upon signs of life. Intending to quell my hunger and gather some information about where I was abruptly halted by the cold steel of a gun pressed against my head. The stranger demanded to know my origins, speaking in a language foreign yet comprehensible to me. I could even respond in it, to my bewilderment. "Relax, brother, I'm merely passing through," I replied, though my words were cut short by the sudden crack of a gunshot that sent chills down my spine. A monstrous bear lay felled at my feet. "This is a wasteland, not a playground. Wander without gear and you'll become fodder for these beasts," the stranger warned. Thus began my 5-month tenure in this desolate world, learning that it was nearly obliterated by a catastrophic war centuries ago. Mutant creatures and marauding bandits now roam this forsaken land. Despite acclimating somewhat to this world, an elusive whisper persistently beckons, guiding me to a derelict sanatorium. The closer I got, the more intensely I felt its call, emanating straight from within those decaying walls. I thought to myself as I approached a monumental door, could this be a sanctuary? The palm-sized activation panel on the door responded to my touch, swinging open to reveal a towering figure. Readying myself for what I presumed was a powerful adversary, I instead encountered a diminutive robot, an assistant to the shelter. Before I could utter a word, the robot announced my new role as the administrator of this outpost. The system interface corroborated this, upgrading my status from scavenger to manager. The robot explained I am to guide and welcome players from other worlds to join in rebuilding our haven, promising rewards and power with each task fulfilled. Suddenly hopeful, I asked, "Can I communicate with Earth from here?" Certainly, the system would relay through specialized methods, distributing gaming helmets to each participant. Once donned, these helmets would synchronize the player with the sanctuary's incubation pods, allowing them to awaken anew in their clone form. As he finished speaking, boundless joy welled up within me. Indeed, Providence had finally smiled upon me, bestowing a fortuitous windfall. Gazing at the robot before me, I mused that using numbers for names was rather cumbersome, thus christening him Zichet. Elated, he pranced about gleefully, exclaiming he finally had a name. This scene filled me with a tumult of emotions. Shortly thereafter, the system issued a task, recruit for players to earn a carbon nanofiber bulletproof vest. In the night, somewhere in the original world, a fervent debate ensued around a game named Boiling. I sat before a computer within the sanctuary, fervently dispatching the message, "If you're willing to give it a shot, please click the little heart on the right." One man viewed the link skeptically, thinking, of course, I don't buy this. Yet if it were true, the beauties crafted in Skyrim might just spring into life. With a defiant cry of who's afraid, as a university student, one must embrace a spirit of bold exploration. He deftly swiped his hand across the keyboard to secure a reservation. While voraciously devouring his meal in the school cafeteria, he pondered his next steps before heading back to his dormitory. Upon arrival, a mysterious delivery awaited him on the desk, piquing his curiosity. Opening it, he uncovered the gaming helmet dispatched from my world of wastelands. Holding the enigmatic helmet, disbelief filled his mind. Brushing aside his skepticism, he rushed to don it, eager to reunite with his crafted beloved, his heart pounding with exhilaration. Yet instead of his wild reverie, a message flashed, "Game activation in progress. Please wait 3 days." Outraged, he bellowed, "I was ready, and now you're telling me to wait 3 days." The game chat group erupted into chaos, awash with curiosity and doubt. I reassured them, noting my esteem for their loyalty led to the early distribution of helmets, quelling their apprehension. Subsequently, Zchat and I convened to outline the game's myriad features. Given that the Sanctuary's initial phase required strenuous labor, male players were paramount. Thus, I instructed Zchat to allure them through appealing visuals on the site. Zchat puzzled over the allocation of only for spots, noting 11 reservations on our site. I explained that resources were scarce, and expanding too quickly might lead to dire consequences. It was imperative to nurture these for players initially. The system notified me that the task was complete, prompting me to claim my reward, a nanofiber bulletproof vest. Its sophistication was apparent. Upon claiming, it clad me instantly. Assessing its attributes, I foresaw enhanced safety during excursions. While pondering over options, Zichat mentioned, the bulletproof vest is merely an appetizer. The highlight today is the reward loot boxes. Acquiring one, however, required reward points accrued from previous missions. Each tier necessitated different points and resources. Basic boxes might yield sustenance, intermediate ones medicine, and advanced boxes weapons. Debating whether to spend 5 points on a basic box or save up for a more substantial purpose, a new system task emerged. Ensure one player logs in, rewarding an active material extractor. Prepare a high-power generator and earn 100 reward points. Ziche reminded me, active matter is akin to a revival token for players. With this in mind, acquiring weapons could wait until the tasks were completed. Ziche went ahead and spent all the points on basic loot boxes. At that moment, the machine hummed to life, but my expression grew somber. Looking at the food dispensed, I thought, is this truly the loot box reward? How stingy can this system be? Do they think I'm a child showering me with candy like this? Moreover, why was there one piece of food missing? Then I noticed a slip of paper tucked among the food. What is this? I wondered. The note read, "This is for the successor." I exclaimed in frustration. This isn't an Easter egg, it's a blatant ripoff of my reward. Nevertheless, to invent such advanced technology under conditions of lost civilization, the original administrator must have been more than just a genius. Curious, I asked Ziche if he knew this initial administrator. However, he was unaware, having only been activated when I arrived. With players not logging in for another 3 days, I decided to check the junkyard for food. When will you return? Don't worry, no later than 3 days. If all goes well, I'll be back tomorrow. Venturing alone into the monster-infested wilderness, I unexpectedly encountered a pack of two-headed hounds. Though I could easily dispatch them, I refrained from acting to avoid unnecessary complications. Shortly, I reached my destination, the scrapyard. Today's haul consisted of a few batteries and bullets, amounting to 3 chips. I inquired if there were any weapons available, but, predictably, there were none. Instead, I was advised to stock up on food and fuel in preparation for the impending winter. You're the young lad from 5 months ago. You haven't seen a winter here, so I'll tell you about it. In winter, monsters become exceptionally active, and you never know if beneath the snow lies recyclable scrap or the fangs of a beast. Once winter arrives, trading caravans cease coming and your scavenged goods pile up indoors. Old Charlie began his tale again. Once a refuge talent, he was enslaved, auctioned off, and purchased by the mayor of Bell Street, who assigned him this work with scavengers. If it weren't for this world's deplorable state, he might have followed in his ancestors' footsteps to become an engineer, doctor, or scholar, rather than a bookkeeper here. This thought moved me, perhaps because he was also once a refugee. He is so considerate towards me. Returning to my dilapidated home, I counted a measly box of chips, my entire fortune. What if the players arrived hungry and resorted to desperate measures? With this concern, I was compelled to search for more scrap. A sudden appearance by a little girl startled me. She fumbled nervously, explaining, "I didn't mean to. I just saw some movement and thought there might be a thief." I wanted to help. Embarrassed, I replied, "It's alright, thank you." Seeing I wasn't upset, she beamed, "Big brother, I can watch your house when you're away since I have nothing else to do." Feigning a wicked demeanor, I said, "Children shouldn't talk to strangers outside. What if you meet a bad person?" Blushing, she retorted, "I'm not a child. Besides, big brother, you're not a bad person. You gave me soup when I was hungry before." It turns out she remembered. Since then, she'd often linger around my home. "Alright, don't be upset anymore. I have candy here for you," I said. She seemed unfamiliar with lollipops, so I gently brought it to her lips. She eyed it curiously before giving it a lick. After savoring the taste, she exclaimed, "It's so sweet." "I'm glad you like it. It's called a lollipop," I replied with a grin. She laughed, "Haha, this is the first time I've seen you smile. This is so delicious. Here, have a taste too, big brother." Today marked the player's first day in this world, and I stood outside, anticipating their arrival. As they emerged from the teleportation pod, they were utterly astounded, exclaiming in unison, "This is unbelievably real." The one pinching his cheek was Bairu, the power-based player. Fang Chang, the agility type, was tugging at his waistband. Kuang Feng, the intelligence type, was adjusting his glasses. And finally, there was the enigmatic system Night Vision. Resounding noises echoed beyond the stone gate, and as it swung open, it revealed Ziche and me. "Welcome, everyone. Our task ahead is to rebuild our home and humanity's civilization. I am Aurora, your administrator, and this is my assistant, Ziche." The four were left speechless by the spectacle before them, their astonishment palpable. My commanding presence had effectively captivated them. Instantly, they bombarded me with questions, leaving me momentarily unsure. Unfazed, I handed them the beginner's guide without further explanation. Soon, we ventured outdoors, where the group speculated about Aguang's whereabouts, fearing this administrator might suspend his account. Clearly, this NPC wasn't one to be trifled with. As we walked, I said, "I hope you all understand the situation. Winter is fast approaching. Your first task is to gather tools from the ground, collect enough wood for winter fuel, and repair this sanatorium." With enthusiasm, they proclaimed, "Together, we'll rebuild our home. But don't stray too far. I won't be able to help if you're attacked by monsters." With instructions clear, they eagerly headed into the forest, tools in hand. I instructed Ziche to accompany them to prevent mishaps. As they immersed themselves in their tasks, fatigue soon set in, leaving them breathless. Night Vision pointed towards the forest depths, speculating, "Do you think if I wander far enough, I might encounter the elusive forest nymph? I can't speak for nymphs, but terrifying monsters are guaranteed. Venture too far and we'll thrash you to bits." In short order, Night Vision became incensed, recalling my earlier demeanor. Why do I have to listen to some NPC? Suddenly, a red mark appeared above his head, and his axe dropped to the forest floor. A moment later, sharp claw marks gashed a nearby tree, and the unexpected assault left Yishai trembling in terror. In a desolate world, I serve as the steward of a sanctuary, leading for players into the wild to collect timber as winter looms nearer. I return to the refuge after assigning tasks to study the active matter extractor, a reward from the system. The manual revealed that active matter is essential for synthesizing player clones, yet the raw materials must be gathered personally. Meanwhile, Ziche rushed back to the sanctuary, frantic with alarm. Something's wrong, something's wrong, he exclaimed. It turned out a large bird had attacked the players as they chopped wood. The news set me on edge. The colossal bird hovered above, as Yishai remarked how the game was curiously devoid of monsters. Huangfeng interjected, the game was updated with new features just yesterday. Upon closer inspection, Huangfeng identified the bird as a mutated hawk from the game's bestiary. As the hawk prepared to dive, Huangfeng remained composed, quietly reciting, if the enemy does not move, I shall not move. But when he glanced sideways, his companions had vanished. While he chastised his teammates hidden in the underbrush, I appeared, diverting the hawk's attention by hurling stones at it. My actions incensed the creature, its eyes flaring red as it swooped towards me. Clutching my spear, I taunted, a beast remains a beast. No mutation rivals human intellect. As it lunged at me, I raised my spear, declaring, prepare to meet your end, and drove it through the hawk's chest in a seamless motion. The spectacle left the 4 players awestruck, praising the feat. Before long, the slain hawk was roasting on our spit, leaving the players uncertain if mutant creature should be consumed. Indeed, once it's cooked, it's safe to eat. Though with seasoning, it'd be far more delightful. But alas, this is a post-apocalyptic world, I noted. They worried about leftovers, thinking to preserve them in a refrigerator, so I informed them. Even the mayor's castle here boasts only a single fridge. The mention of the mayor's castle sent Yishai into a reverie, fantasizing about maids awaiting his command. Fang Chong then inquired, Administrator, how much wood do we require? I responded, as much as you can chop. Their energy waned, and laziness took hold at my answer. Addressing their dwindling zeal, I introduced a harvesting mission, whereby completing tasks would earn them contributions. Contribution points could be exchanged for rewards, such as 5 for a roasted chicken leg, and 8 for 2. Their mouths watered at the prospect, and they dashed into the woods, anxious they might not earn enough chicken legs. They soon grew weary from the exertion. I announced the results. Bairu earned 800 contribution points, while Yishai and Fang Chong each earned 450, and Huangfeng garnered 300, despite his complaints. I informed them they could view their contribution points on the official website. Besides supplies, points could be exchanged for revival tokens. Planning to take them shopping post-task, the meager chips left in my hands gave me pause. Noticing the unpowered outpost, Fang Chong asked why no generator was installed. I wish we could, I confessed, but no one here possesses the technical expertise for it. If someone solves this, they'll receive a special reward. With dusk approaching, players drifted towards the teleportation pods, ready to depart. As I watched them leave, I realized the need for night owls to keep me company, for solitude at night was rather unnerving. While pondering, Ziche inquired, the system generated a health report. Shall we review it? Let's take a look, I agreed. After logging out, the system's pods retain a portion of the player's genes and develop them. Each player possesses innate abilities, reaching their zenith at 1% development progress. Currently, development hovered around 1%. Understanding dawned upon me players could indeed evolve, surely a nurturing mechanism. In the real world, Huangfeng awoke from the game, a professor by profession. Reflecting on the generator I mentioned, he realized consultation with Professor Wang was in order. By noon, he reached the cafeteria, finding Professor Wang bedecked in greetings from adoring female students, captivated by his handsomeness. Huangfeng broached the topic, mentioning a post-apocalyptic novel and inquiring about addressing power issues in such a scenario. Professor Wang responded, in the wasteland's context, to centuries post-nuclear war, unshielded electronics succumb to EMP damage, but there's a solution. Eagerly, Huangfeng produced a notebook, saying, please, go on. Cars typically hold a recoverable generator. Rotating the rotor generates 12 volts of DC power. With an inverter, it's possible to convert to 240 volts AC, Professor Wang elucidated before departing, adding, if questions arise, feel free to ask. After he left, a message pinged in Huangfeng's pocket. He checked his phone and was left speechless. Fang Chong had sent a Wasteland game guide in the group chat. Meanwhile, Fang Chong was in a room adorned with trophies, a game blogger in the real world. At that moment, he was live streaming, sharing Wasteland world strategies with his viewers, discussing how the game's extreme pain settings don't translate into actual sensations, yet a mild cheek pinch can swell your face. Additionally, he highlighted the resurrection mechanism, albeit with a 3-day cooldown post-death as a caveat. Importantly, Fang Chong hoped that Brother Guang would allow players the liberty to choose their gender. Listening in, I was at a loss for words. We already had 25 players signed up, but it wasn't the time for new recruits. Given his efforts in promoting the game, I felt compelled to contribute something to the group. I enabled the system's voice input mode and shared details of the game's second test phase. Attributes could be influenced by one's strengths or interests, though self-determined gender was out of the question. Moreover, player actions affect NPC affinity, potentially triggering hidden missions and unlocking secret professions. For further details, they could visit the official website. As I contemplated taking a break, it struck me if players could traverse realms through the game helmet and incubation pods, couldn't I do the same? Zicha, however, explained despondently that his database contained no genetic information on me, thus unable to link me to the pods. Very well, let's set that aside. Zicha, could you calculate my attributes for me? Upon the interface appearing, I scrutinized my attribute levels, noting a development progress of 5 suggesting my attributes surpassed other players by a tire. Just as I pondered this, the system notified me that I had unlocked the Novice Guide achievement.